Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are throwing two heavyweight 360 cameras into the ring. On one side, the Insta360 that's been dominating the 360 world for almost a decade. And on the other side, the new challenger DJI Osmo 360. DJI took all its action cam experience, added a shiny new 1-inch 360 sensor and said, "Step aside Insta, we got this." I've actually made a full breakdown video on the DJI Osmo 360 where I go over pretty much every spec in detail. So if you want to deep dive, check that out. Also, if you're curious how the Insta360 stack up against the Insta360 X Pro 2 or the Insta360 X4, I've got separate videos for those two. Links are down below. In this video, I'm focusing on the 360 video mode, so think this as part 1 of the battle. Image quality, stabilization, dynamic range, selfie view, Insta frame, frame rates 25, 50, 100, 120 FPS, photos, time-lapse, almost everything. Now part 2 will be all about single lens mode, microphone, software, so keep an eye out. It might already be out by the time you're watching this video. And just so you know, no sponsorships in this video, no free buys. I bought both cameras with my own money and I like both brands equally. So you're getting my unfiltered, unbiased nerdiness here. Let's have a look at the specs. Insta360 X5 can shoot 8K at 30 FPS. If you want smooth 60 FPS, you'll have to step down to 5.7K. DJI Osmo 360 8K at 50 FPS, straight out of the box. Pretty crazy on paper. If you want 60 FPS, you can still push 6K at 60 FPS. And when it comes to color, DJI shoots 10-bit in both normal and D-Log amp, which everyone seems to love. Insta360 stuck at 8-bit only, but you can export as HLG in Rec 2100 color space with 10-bit. The catch, you can only do through the iPhone app, no luck with the desktop or Android app. Slow motion fans. This one leans towards Insta360. This beast gives you 4K 120 FPS while DJI tops out at 4K 100 FPS. So if you're all about buttery smooth slow motion, Insta takes the point here. And if you look at the photo specs, Insta360 can shoot 72 megapixels in 360 mode, while DJI Osmo 360 a whopping 120 megapixels, almost double on the paper. And DJI actually has 105 GB of internal storage, and this doesn't have. Now that's not enough to replace your SD card, but it can save you if you forget one. Plus, it is fast, like suspiciously fast, and it is 10 times faster than a normal SD card. I wish it had more storage like this instead of 105 GB. Of course, it's not 105 GB, it's actually 128 GB, but the remaining capacity used by the system software. However, Insta360's big trick is replaceable lenses. Since 360 lenses stick out like bug eyes, they're always at risk. Insta lets you swap them if they crack. DJI doesn't, unfortunately. If you break it, you're done. You may have the DJI Care and you can replace it, but DJI Care I'm not sure supported in all countries. The country I live, DJI Care don't care, I think. So DJI has a 1-inch square sensor. The idea that this shape captures more of the image because it is square. And Insta360 has a dual 1/128-inch sensor. So yeah, on paper, DJI looks is wiping the floor with Insta360. But hang on, don't just click away yet. Specs are one thing, real world use is another. And trust me, I went all out to keep this comparison fair. And how I tested, both cameras mounted in the exact same position. Stack one on top of the other, so no cheating angle, same angle exactly, or weird stitching lines. Using the Insta360 invisible extended selfie stick, which was definitely not happy carrying two cameras at once. Sometimes one of the cameras looked like a floating UFO in the shot, but hey, I tried my best to hide it. Editing was another challenge. Reframing a 2-minute 360 clip can take 5-10 minutes, and I did that for both cameras, for multiple clips. Not boring lap shots under perfect lighting. And for fairness, I match settings as closely as possible between the two, adjusting only when their specs didn't align. Let's have a look at the body design. The Insta360 X5 is a little bit heavyweight champion, longer, bulkier, and tipping the scale of around 200 grams. DJI Osmo 360 just weighs 183 grams. It doesn't sound like a huge difference, but trust me, in the hand, DJI Osmo 360 feels way much lighter and smaller compared to this one. And DJI is bulkier compared to Insta360 X5. However, Insta360 X5 is taller than the DJI Osmo 360, and yes, this is wider actually on the side. So this has almost a square shape. That's why this is easy to hold it on the desk, but this is not. This is clumsy a little bit and it can fall down easily. Okay, let's go to the test. Both cameras here are shooting 8K at 25 FPS in perfect lighting. Insta360 X5 gives you 3 color profiles, Vivid, Standard and Flat. I'm using Vivid here, my favorite. Plus Insta has this really clever feature called Adaptive Tone, which balances exposure between the two lenses, and it works beautifully in this shot. DJI Osmo 360 doesn't give you color option, it's just one look, so side by side DJI looks flatter and brighter. Insta360 is punchier with stronger contrast, popping skies and balanced shadows. If you like true to life, DJI might be your vibe, but for this scene, Insta360's colors stole the show for me. When we look at the salons here, both are sharp until you look closer. Insta360 shows a bit more fine detail than DJI. Here's where things get tricky. Both cameras distort and warp near the sides because of lens design. That said, Insta360 handles it slightly better. Look at the head and tail of the both. Not a massive difference, but noticeable. Still, both suffer from corner distortion. It's just the reality of 360 lenses. Let's have a look at this scene. Both handle light transitions really well, even in the darker areas. No visible noise. Pretty impressive. Sharpness looks almost identical. Insta360 X5 is punchier, more vibrant, more detail in things like tile patterns. DJI softer, flatter, a little more muted. When the sun peeks out between buildings, both adjust exposure quickly. Dynamic range is solid on both, but DJI tends to overexpose. Insta360 keeps sun rays looking nicer, while DJI washes them out. Honestly, I've seen this before with DJI cams like the Action 5. They just expose a little too high. Based on my tests, DJI at -0.7 EV exposure compensation looks similar to Insta360 at 0 EV. Even both at -0.3 EV in these scenarios, DJI overexposes highlights. Walking into darker spots, both remain noise-free, clean, crisp footage from both. Okay, here is a fun one. DJI can do 8K at 50 FPS, while Insta360 tops out at 8K 30 FPS. So let's compare DJI's 8K 50 FPS against Insta's 8K 25 FPS. This scene was tough for both cameras. Lots of changing light, fast shifts from shadow to highlight. Both cameras struggle a bit, but Insta handled transitions a little bit better. DJI at 8K 50 FPS, white balance slips on the rocks, and the colors shift oddly when Selan walks out from the bushes. Insta360, on the other hand, transitions are smoother, colors are more natural, exposure more accurate. Again, DJI leans overexposed and flat, while Insta stays contrasty but balanced. Forest greens look greener, browns look browner, and the sea pops beautifully blue on Insta. DJI is still a little washed out even at -0.3 EV, but the image also looks fine. Now in DJI's defense, comparing 50 FPS to 25 FPS isn't exactly fair. Higher frame rates usually mean a softer image, and yep, DJI's 8K 50 FPS is noticeably softer than its own 8K 25 FPS and also Insta360's 8K 25 FPS. Now, let's put them on equal footing. DJI Osmo 360, 8K 50 FPS, and this time we have to drop the Insta360 X5 to 5.7K 50 FPS to compare the 50 FPS, since it can't do 8K at this frame rate. The catch, at 5.7K, Insta unlocks HDR mode, so it brings some extra firepower to the fight. And right away, you can see the difference. Insta360 sunset colors are gorgeous, really vibrant, with visible detail in the clouds. You can almost count them one by one. DJI, the same sunset, looks faded, with cloud details smashed together into one flat blob. In this case, Insta's lower resolution with HDR actually beats DJI's high resolution without it. Here's weird one. On paper, DJI should crash Insta here. 8K versus 5.7K at 50 FPS. Again. But when I actually look at the footage, sharpness was basically identical. Check the walls. DJI lost some fine detail while Insta360 kept them intact. Honestly, this surprised me. I was expecting DJI to flex with that extra resolution, but nope. Insta360 held its ground. Time to level the playing field. DJI 6K at 60 FPS and Insta360 5.7K at 60 FPS. Resolution difference is tiny, frame rate is identical, so this is as fair as it gets. And once again, Insta's colors pop more, the sky looks alive, the water stays that beautiful Insta blue. DJI a bit flat again, like it forgot to drink its morning coffee. Sharpness is the same on both, so the only real difference is color rendering. In this scene, Insta360 nails the true rock tones better than DJI. Apart from DJI's tendency to overexpose and flatten colors, sharpness looks almost identical. So in daylight, overall, both cameras perform nearly the same. If I had to nitpick, Insta360's colors and exposure feel slightly better, but honestly the differences are small enough that I wouldn't declare an outright winner here. Call it a draw with Insta's colors as my personal preference. For slow motion, DJI Osmo 360 maxes out at 4K 100 FPS and Insta360 X5 can push it to 4K 120 FPS. But fairness of this test, I tested both at 100 FPS in 4K and both look really similar. DJI's flatter profile versus Insta's more colorful one. In this scene, Insta360 made the blue water sparkle more and even the fish chomping on bread look sharper. DJI wasn't bad at all, but Insta made the water clearer. Now let's geek out a bit and talk about log profiles. The Insta360 X5 comes with iLog, but you only get it, you need to drop the resolution to 5.7K. It is not available in 8K. DJI, on the other hand, flexes with the well-known D-Log amp, and the cool part is it works across all resolutions and frame rates. That's pretty sweet if you're someone who wants the flexibility of shooting log no matter what settings you are using. Both cameras make your life easier by baking the color correction right into their apps. No need to go hunting for LUTs on their websites like it's some kind of treasure quest. Just load up the app, hit the correction, and boom, instant cinematic vibes. And in my test, both work flawlessly. Daylight is easier for both cameras. The real test is low light. Both have AI-powered night modes. DJI calls it Super Night, Insta calls it Pure Video. Same idea, boost ISO, clean it up with AI and reduce the noise. But first, let's see what happens without night mode. Just raw sensor performance. Because DJI claims that they have 1-inch sensor. On the other hand, Insta has a smaller sensor, 1/1.28 inches. That's why this test is very important to test their sensor performance rather than the processor performance. Now we are walking on the streets of Hvar in Croatia at dusk. It's not fully dark yet, but the sun's gone and we are walking through Hvar streets. No AI night modes, just pure sensors. Result? Both did surprisingly well. No noise. Bright footage, smooth stabilization with no jittering. Even as it got darker, both cameras kept the image clean. Let's go to Istanbul. In Istanbul, at sunset, Insta360 shows some noise creeping in. DJI looks cleaner and almost noise-free. But here's a twist. Insta's colors still look better. The sky pops beautifully, while DJI looks too bright, almost unnaturally so. It's like DJI cranked the exposure slider one stop too far. Let's go to darker. Street lights only, no fancy AI modes. Here the difference is clear. Insta360 X5 shows a bit more noise in the footage with ISO both max at 6400. You can see the grain in Insta360. DJI Osmo 360 much cleaner and more usable even without a super night mode turned on. Pure sensor low light performance, DJI takes this round. Now let's switch on the magic buttons. Super night on the DJI and pure video on the Insta360. In well-lit streets, DJI looks a bit brighter and slightly cleaner. If you zoom into the bushes, DJI handles noise better while Insta shows some AI artifacts. But honestly, unless you are pixel peeping, you won't notice much difference. The good news, both give very usable night footage and, importantly, no jittering or wobbling from stabilization. Both stay rock solid. Now on to 360 photos. DJI Osmo 360 can shoot up to 120 megapixels, while Insta360 X5 can only shoot 72 megapixels. On paper, DJI crushed it, almost twice the pixels. But wait, Insta has HDR PureShot with lots of AI processing magic. Let's check the samples. Photo 1. Zoom into the face. DJI looks softer with visible noise. Insta balances exposure better in both highlights and shadows and looks sharper overall. Photo 2. The sky. DJI overexposed the blue, losing detail. Insta360 X5 preserved both highlights and shadows very well. Photo 3. Insta shows every little cloud details. DJI, one big cotton ball. Maybe you don't care about clouds, but hey, some of us, like me, do. Photo 4. Same story. Insta separates cloud details. DJI just smooths them into one. So despite DJI's 120 megapixel marketing flex, Insta360 often delivers sharper, more detailed results thanks to its processing. One annoying point though, Insta removed the ability to keyframe photos into video in their apps. DJI has that feature in both desktop and mobile. So from the stills you can create keyframed videos with the DJI, but for Insta360 no, you can't do it anymore. It was already there, why you removed it? I hope you put it back there. On the other hand, one advantage of the DJI, it gives us pure JPEG photos, which is easy to monitor in your desired app. However, Insta360 uses INSP files and these files should be exported to JPEG from their respective apps. On the DJI, of course, it comes 360 degrees. Even it comes in JPEG, you can't do anything with them. But you can still just click and open it to see what was it, right? It's very simple. Both cameras have selfie view. Basically, the camera tracks you automatically so you don't have to frame yourself. DJI Osmo 360 says it's selfie view, while Insta360 says it Insta frame. DJI Osmo 360 records the selfie view in 4K 60 FPS as a flat video. Super smooth, super sharp. You just hold the camera and it tracks you in 360 environment and it gives you a reframed flat video. That's very simple. Insta360 X5 only does up to 1080p 30 FPS, so no 4K 2030 when using the Insta frame mode. But Insta also saves the full 360 video, so it gives you two video, one reframed, you've been tracked and keyframed automatically, and another one is the raw 360 video. If the auto framing messes up, you can still reframe yourself later, or maybe you change your mind, you don't want to show yourself, only you saw something else when you were shooting yourself. Then you can go back to those 360 files and you can put keyframes and reframe it however you want. DJI doesn't give you that flexibility. So DJI wins on quality because 4K 60 FPS, but Insta wins on options. Which one I will choose? To be honest, I wouldn't use the Insta frame because you never know what to shoot. The purpose of these cameras are they are 360 cameras. So your intention may be shooting yourself only, but maybe at that time you will see something else in the scene. Maybe a deer will jump in front of you. You never know. That's why I wouldn't use this Insta frame or selfie view. Let's have a look at the time-lapse feature. DJI can shoot time-lapse in 8K, which sounds great until you look closer. Even in the bright daylight, DJI's time-lapse shows noise in highlights and shadows. Meanwhile, Insta360 goes up to 11K time-lapse, and the results are gorgeous. Add in the filters from the Insta mobile app and you can create really cinematic time-lapses. Even better, Insta has an interval photo mode, shoots 72 megapixel stills at intervals so you can build your own ultra high quality time-lapse. DJI no such option. I really like time-lapses coming from the Insta360, and in my travel to Europe, to Austria, I shot amazing time-lapses, and I don't think any of the 360 camera can beat Insta360's time-lapse features with the 11K. Let's have a look at the stabilization. Both cameras stabilize the footage beautifully in 360 mode. No crop needed, no wobble, no problem. Honestly, in this category, it's a tie. They are equally rock solid. Okay guys, it's the end of the part 1 and we covered almost everything in 360 mode. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the part 2, we will be looking at the single lens mode in all the details as well as microphone and the software pros and cons. If you don't want to miss out this part 2, don't forget to hit subscribe and hit the notification button. See you in the part 2.